oceans ever torn so deep, falling down through the clouds. I'm feeling you. Stay away from me. You keep haunting me.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make can make me move, can make me move, yeah. You can make me move, can make me.
The SEL season looks like it's coming to an end here, Dallas, but fortunately, we've got a game left before it comes to its ultimate conclusion, and it's going to be an absolute slugfest to the final. Niner Esports, the flawless team, has played 2 less games than their competitor here for this series, facing off against RG Orange, the competitor that's lost their 1 game this season that dropped them down to the lowers.
Yeah, you say one more match left, but even then, it's just a match. We've still got plenty of maps to go. We still got an entire series. It's going to be a best of 1 like we've seen the entirety of the season. This is going to be a best of 3. Something that you and I have wanted a little bit for the entirety of the season. But hey, we got more seasons to go. We got more opportunities, and we obviously have ourselves a lot more SCL just over the course of time itself. But obviously tonight, RRG Orange, and even them against the likes of Niner Esports, we have seen this team. They look invincible. They seem like gods, but RRG Orange, they only seem human, and quite frankly, you never know what those mortals are capable of. So I'm excited to see what they can present here today, especially knowing that they did have those 2 extra games of practice, and maybe that lower bracket run will give them a little bit of a leg up here today.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. What's more dangerous than free will? If they're humans and have that free will to, make the decisions, make the choices in game that can elevate their team to face off against a competitor that looks, like you said, like gods, like an unbeatable force. Well, we have to see if that will hold true. The Batman v Superman style, gods can bleed, right? That's the idea they're trying to go with. And Niner Esports may be seemingly invincible, but on certain maps, we do know they have some weak links. And on 3 maps here today, which you can see down below us, it's Bind, Breeze, and Ascent. I would have to say Breeze, the one that's really tickling my fancy throughout this, just because it's not the go-to maps of Bind and Ascent. But Breeze will be very important for RG Orange to be able to deny the Niner Esports attack, because on defense, they're really good. The attack is we're going to try to poke through and get the flaws and try to get ahead early.
Well, even then more so, I mean, Breeze is one of those maps to where it feels like there's a definitive way to play it. I mean, it's pretty long range. It's not really nearly as what you're used to seeing when we look at Breeze and before the changes came through. The map is always going to be long range. It's going to be those kind of long engagements, very much just aim duel style, just proving who's going to be warming up better. And if we even do get to a 3rd map, quite frankly, whoever wins Breeze, I think they're going to have a little bit more of a leg up there, considering that map literally just comes down to operating Guardians, Marshals, Vandals, the likes that hit a one-shot headshot, headshot, any kind of range, and just making sure that you can really nail those things going into that final map if we do get there. But I mean, knowing that we get that bind and breeze off the get-go, bind is going to be a nice little change to get things right off the start. Make sure we're heating things up, that we're revving our engines, and we're not going anywhere pretty slow and methodical. We're making sure to get right into it.
Let's go ahead and not waste any of the scenes we have prepared here, Dallas. Go ahead and throw up the upper bracket, and then we'll talk about the lower bracket right after the fact. I want to highlight this because, like I said, Niner Esports has gone flawless, and in the way of doing so, they started at the top, and now they're here. Quite literally, top left of your screen, took down UTK Gray, LTU Blue, Florida Blue, and then took down GT White to get to this point to punch their way into the finals. And you can see there's a name up there, RG Orange, that unfortunately got knocked out there in the corners. Could not make it in the semis to be able to take on the side there of GT Whites. Instead, they lost to Florida Orange, where they had to drop down to the lower bracket, which we'll pull up here. Then in their lower bracket run, they had a pretty good set of series. They took down KSU Black. They had a really good matchup against Florida Blue that they did manage to get the win over. And that was a victory that you're looking at and saying, okay, it was important for this win because they just lost to Florida Orange. At least get a win over Florida in some way or another. Then the LTU Blue battle, and of course that Georgia Tech battle we saw previously just last week, or sorry, a couple weeks ago prior to Thanksgiving. Either way, a really good showcase. And RG Orange needed to be prepped. They needed the 2 weeks. They needed this time frame to get as much practice in as possible, because we had asked them, how often do you practice? They maybe once a week. Hopefully that has changed.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, all things considered, for RG Orange, it's good looking here. I mean, they've had themselves, even if they only have one practice, keep in mind, they got games they've been playing as well. So, I mean, that's plenty of what not to work off of. That's plenty of game time. There's plenty of just kind of chemistry that's being just unfolded right in front of our own eyes. And we've seen the adjustments. They've worked great for them. They've been able to obviously get to this point of the grand finals. But even then, I mean, just looking at the road that they've had in the lower playoffs, they're obviously the ones that had themselves a little bit more of a trialsome run to get here. We saw them drop in the semifinals. That's an impressive run in itself. This is the Cinderella run. It's nothing crazy. We're not looking at any underdogs, just kind of overcoming the entirety of the competition here. But RG Orange still, once again, we've already witnessed that they can bleed. They've had themselves some rough games to even get to this point, some close maps overall. Meanwhile, Niner Esports, they're the ones that have been able to hold things down definitively. It feels like every single game they've won, at least going ahead and differentiating themselves by their opposition over that double-digit checkpoint chokehold scenario that we talk about so much, to where it feels like it's always maybe a 13-9, 13-8, never really a 13-10, 13-11. So I think the key to success here for RG Orange is at least just make these games long. Make Niner Esports start to stretch themselves out, because quite frankly, I don't think we've gotten to see their entire playbook yet, just because of how this season's looked to pan out for them so far. So if RG Orange just go ahead and whip something out here, put them on the end, and throw a little bit of a curveball at them, they're going to go ahead and at least be caught off win for at least a second, and that's enough for you to capitalize off the back of.
Sika's the player I'm looking out here for the side of Niner Esports. It is a mirror matchup. Viper, Cypher, Raze, Brim.
Guessed?
Who would have guessed? But Sika's the player we've seen him bind, I believe, twice for Niner Esports throughout the mainstay season here, the first season for SEL, getting this started for Valorant. And they have been a very strong force to be reckoned with, both on the attack and on defense. We've seen clutches in 1v2s. We've seen big heroic plays for denial on the defense for the B site, because they like to play closer to Octagon. No matter what it's been, it seemingly is a team that revolves around the success that comes out from the sky and that initiating power, which is to be expected, but it can put a lot of weight on that player's shoulders, and it can cause them to cause mistakes, trickle in a couple kills that maybe shouldn't have gone the other way. Either way, when it comes down to it, Niner Esports starting off in the defense, Sika's the one to watch, and it may be the more important one to watch in round one, because look where RG Orange are prepping themselves for the push. It's going to go towards that B site.
And even then, you're going to go ahead and keep your eyes on Sika and Knight, obviously going ahead, doubling down towards that B side of the map. You're going to get those early flashes going on to get this information to figure out what exactly is going on here. Once you get that guiding light to give you a little bit of an audible saying somebody's probably at Fountain, and you hear shots there towards Tuka, you're saying maybe a little bit of an early B rotate could be warranted here. Maybe one player, but maybe not two or three, because you don't want to overinvest here. Being close to that teleporter, you never know what kind of place the RG Orange set themselves towards. You've got to keep your eyes out.
They left 3 players over towards Showers. They were anticipating the TB play back around the corner, but once the gunshots start to go out for RG Orange, it's a full rotate for Niner Esports in through TP. Knight, who's still lied within Hookah, able to assist the players trying to transition up through that middle courtyard. Does not matter though. UTSA will get the plant down now on that B site, and on top of that can position themselves for a post plant. And this is where Lacharo's positioning is going to matter the most. Their teammate, their Sky, really far back in the back of sight, Dallas, and that's going to push a lot of 1v1, near 1v2 complications on site as they push up through B long, and they have to do it quickly. Around the corner, Latoro, Knight, do they see them? They do, gets the kill, and Rishi in the objective needs to go for yet another. Do they even have time for the defuse? I don't think they will. Gonna be close. No, they will. They have plenty of time.
They got plenty of time.
Sometimes when you talk, Dallas, you just can't hear the beeping as well, so you just like, you lose yourself in it for a moment.
I'm not going to call
the way I'm losing myself.
Casters, but there was a big broadcast here recently where they were always trying to hype it up and be like, oh, is there time left? And there was like 10 seconds on the clock. I'm like, dude, come on. I mean, maybe if their keyboard dies and somebody suffers from an aneurysm mid-match, maybe it'll be close, but I mean, come on. It's not that serious, but it wasn't nearly that bad. It still was stressful enough that you can get that snare in the first place, find that retake, find that success. Knowing that both angles would be taken from Sahuka, so it was good overall to find that execution, play off each other, and make sure to actually find that success there in that first round. But with the pistol security for Niner Esports, you're obviously expecting this level of success. They surmount themselves some good starts, but these mid rounds, these kind of end games, are really what we're going to be keeping our eyes on, because 1 and 2 we feel like are already going to be secured to a certain degree, especially Niners going ahead and leading that. But the one thing we've seen pretty crazy here out of the SEL in its entirety so far is round number 3, round number 4. Those always feel like a swift up. We never know if it's going to be a little bit of a 3-0 or maybe a 2-2. It's always feels like something's inevitably flipped on its head. Already we're getting a little bit of change with these exchanges going through, and with RG Orange actually making it a little bit trialsome here for Niner Esports as they're keeping the equilibrium across the man numbers. Smoke's down.
Well, Pablo Capasso was trying to put his name into the round, but unfortunately for Niner Esports, they're going to also have to do things into their own hands. The plant once again goes down for RG Orange on this B site. Latro opening up over towards Cubby, getting 2 kills back-to-back, 3 total in this round. May just spell a disastrous scenario for Precise, now left in a 1v2. Guiding Lad around the bend, can cut down Rishi, shockingly enough, but 6 HP in a dream. Replics around the bend. Precise just wants to play either for this exit frag or distracting. It won't matter. Ropelicks will even choose to die to this detonation just to make sure, hey, we go 1 for 1. We're going to buy up with what we can in this 3rd round.
RG just kind of locking out what you've seen over the course of the season. I always talk about the 3rd round, the 4th round, but even in round number 2, every now and again, you do find yourself in a forced situation that RG Orange are able to go ahead and capitalize off the back of that. When we see a 3v3 and we see the numbers already going ahead and being completely traded, and you got one team that's completely on site and one team that's playing for a retake, and the guns are even, and you're just not expecting it to really come at you, then honestly, that's a good look for RG Orange. They know they can actually take control of real estate. They can kind of find themselves space in this game and actually feel comfortable in that area of the map. One thing they're not comfortable with is even in their own spawn. Knight already pushing up, fighting 2 with the Sheriff. Even exchange comes to the video. They advantageous one. As Surge says, there's your 2 knife, but I'm going to grab 4 of my own. And being so close to a showstopper off the back of it.
I'm glad we got to see at least a little bit of that throughout the mess that's going on. RG Orange, a very dominating round 3, and a lot of the damage that was dealt towards the side of Niner Esports was not necessarily with the weapons that they had gained the luxury of being able to utilize after that round 2 win. They just pulled the classic for a majority of it there for Surge to close things out. The problems will now come here for round 4. This is where Niner Esports can have rifles of their own. You see it already brought on the board, and RG Orange, much like you'd expect going 2 for 1 start, you kind of just let that 3rd round go the other way. You do your best, drop as many weapons as possible, but you are very much so disadvantageous when it comes to the weapons at hand, and they're not going to buy up to match the rest of it. 2 Sheriffs, a Guardian, a Bulldog, hoping that these longer range weapons can deal a lot of damage, because that Guardian is unbelievably powerful at distance, like we've talked about so many times throughout the SEL, but they have to get lines of sight, and Niner Esports have denied that with this Viper's Pits toward B long.
At least towards B long, as you already mentioned. And give on, both the players are going ahead and contesting that B long area of the map, sitting inside that Viper's Pit. Problem is, because of that exchange, you're seeing players scattered about. You're seeing a roundabout go through to where the entirety of B side has been given up as an exchange for going ahead and just contesting the Viper's Pit so far. So looking to kind of play it slow and steady. Problem is, you play it a little bit too slow to make it an easy shot there from the side of Niners so far for not to grab at least one more. Finally getting that knocked into the player. Churro's in a 1v4 scenario. Can find at least one there in the meantime. Knows the Phantom is across the way, but as soon as you whip your head out from that angle, you're going to have a lot of guys ready to go ahead and back them up. So a good save state for Niner Esports to make sure they can retaliate, find themselves to kind of stay in this equilibrium of the game and go 2-2 across the board. And with the neural theft carrying over the next round, you know they have a little bit more resources to work off the back of. But I was thinking of resources, talk about what's available here. Are the Orange are the ones I'm going to keep my eyes on, because obviously come from the lower bracket, already have themselves a massive massive start to kind of keep things even. Not only just that, but have the leg up for merely just a second. They could actually find more opportunities to do that, I fully believe. Even though with an orbital barrage, the neural theft and a full buy in a round like this, considering the last one was a little bit iffy, but they still made it relatively expensive. They have some good looks going for them. They just kind of actually see the light of day and really see it to the end, because that spike goes down what feels like every single round.
Look at the default right now we're seeing from Niner Esports for the defensive positioning. They left Knight, who's gone on an absolute tear so far. The only player with double-digit kills heading into round 5, 10 to their name. The nearest closest has 3 for their roster. So they put all 4 of them that have 3 that barely equal up, that barely go over the top of Knight's total kills. Just stack them over on the A side. They haven't hit that often. You don't expect it. So why not stack over that way and just anticipate that RG Orange are going to start changing up the game plan and reevaluating where they should and shouldn't be pushing for the time being. Knight has not found any information though. No real audio has been made, bar the occasional piece of utility, and now a shot being fired for Surge to clear out that Roomba. And I think this is where RG Orange say, yes, we know that there's players on A. We know that there's a raise over there. So let's start transitioning over towards B, where there's been little to no noise, and we can try to maybe get the 1 or 2 players that are there.
That's the wild thing to me, is considering that they haven't even really tried this A side yet. They haven't figured out what's going on that side of the map. And keep in mind, if they ever start to slow down, they're going to have to make sure that switch up comes inevitably. Otherwise, you're just kind of going to be stuck in a hole there in one half of the map. They haven't really tried A to know where those trips are, where the Cypher setup looks like, and even more so what these players are capable of doing in the actual hold on defense themselves. They could be even a greater threat than Knight, but we haven't had the opportunity to see them even fight in the first place to know. So obviously, with once again another retake coming through a 5v5, just setting up kind of more towards that post-plant scenario, and Knight sitting there towards that corner, the rest of the team looking for a retake. They're looking for whatever's given up here in the meantime. For RG Orange going to pop that showstopper, they're not going to give anything up here relatively quickly.
Showstopper attempt comes out from Surge, but it's the rifle to get the job done first and foremost. Sika off the board. Solus gets clapped unbelievably so. And with that orbital strike, it's denying all of the Niner Esports pursuit. And it puts RG Orange back in rightful hands for a 3-2 scoreline, where they played very slow, didn't test an unknown element of the A site, which is, yes, still unbelievably odd to think about. But if they're comfortable on B and they're nailing it when they do a very good job and have the weapons to do so, why not keep pounding the rock? And Niner Esports are forced into yet another eco scenario. It has been way too common for both of these teams up to this point, and I think this is really just how the rest of this half is going to go because of the horrendous 1-1 start we saw go down.
Which, I mean, even then, I don't know if it'll totally go that way, because we've seen a lot of possibilities. I mean, Knight, keep in mind, has gotten pretty successful with these sheriff kills so far. Maybe not in a round like this, but still has shown kind of like shreds of light here and there. But even more in a scenario where you're seeing the RG Orange, they've been pushing this B-side over and over again. If they actually look to kind of iron that thing out and actually find some of the lockdown, it's going to look really good for them. But already you're seeing this space forfeited. You're seeing these players push. It's an eco round for the side of Niners, so you really can't go ahead and kind of beat down on them too much. But looking at scenarios like this, quite frankly, that's the biggest adjustment that needs to be made. You're looking at, once again, this B side of the map just being overwhelmed, that finally you're seeing a switch up. You're seeing a big shift of the players here. We're seeing that same kind of composition be swapped up on the map, and with that Viper going more towards A and the other 3 players going towards B, because they realized that with these Cypher buffs that recently came in, that he's a little bit more of a hard stopper, and I think, quite frankly, he's going to be proving to be a much better solution to this raised aggression that we're seeing so consistently.
Honestly, the trap wires we're seeing placed from Niner Esports for the defensive towards Hookah and out towards Octagon, the range for those is unbelievably long. They don't need to be placed in these tight angles and these tight door frames. You can play them a little bit more anticipating of the jump out of Hookah. Yes, raises typically tend to clear that fairly well, but it denies and slows down a lot of that emphasis, and it also forces them to throw down a smoke. Should they tap it, they'll at least have some level of cover for the rest of the team jumping out at the same moment. It just feels like maybe a little bit less knowledge about where they can place that on that B site instead of where A, where that has been majority-wise every single run up to this point dominated with that utility for the positioning in the prep phase, the prep part of this round. I just hope that with the transition of that 3rd player, the Cypher, back over to the A site where they're going to use that cam up over the top to find information, that this will be a much easier push for RG Orange as they start to send out utility. You can see the snake bite going on up over the top, trying to keep Solus at bay, and they're just starting to get that plant down where Solus had the shot of their life, missed way too much, and the second kill will elude them.
Well, finally pressuring things up, going over to the A side. This could be a good look so far, at least, to show that RG Orange can do in winning this round. They can actually win across the board, but already waiting way too long for that plan. Even planning there towards default. You don't have any players checking showers, and better yet, nobody checking you all. So the kills are coming through, the damage is being done, and the cleanup has occurred there from the side of Niner Esports, proving that well for RG Orange. You may be successful towards B, but you're going to have to give it another shot on this half if you really want to give it a good, fair trade. And already we're not noticing too much of that, with the Viper's Pit being the only ultimate available compared to the Showstopper and the Narrow Theft there from Niners. And even then, the kind of iffy buy, we may see a couple of those being whipped out here just to kind of compensate for what's going on, depending on where this push comes through at.
The idea here for Niner Esports is that they get a win on the A side. RG Orange won't like that, so they'll move more so to the B side and go for a side that they're comfortable on. Niner Esports stack up 4 players on B because of that, and they all dash now out of B long. It'll be a 1v4 confrontation. The player does manage to squeak back and escape, but that gives so much intel over to RG Orange that they can try to transition back the other way, but Bubbles, 2 for 0 special so far, dominating here from Central, has control over this position, and RG Orange now with those 2 kills, knowing the stack was on the B side, will go up through A short and take control of this A objective, where only the Cypher is holding on strong, and Precise has their work cut out for them. Lines up 1, a second is there, no spike lands, and almost a third, but it's not yet enough as the Showstopper comes out to equalize things.
Going ahead, just popping those ultimates where you can. You know you don't really have all the guns in the world, but I mean, you found enough already in your duels. Now has a chance to kind of get things warmed up and say, look, I've had to get kills this entire game, but I haven't really had the opportunity just yet. It's been night this entire game so far. They've ran B over and over and over again. I've been hit for retakes. I got to show I can play defense as well, and sadly against Bubble, who is already on a 3K, continues that string of kills and finds at least one more victim there in the meantime to go ahead and find RG Orange to sit at a comfortable 5 for this half. Guys sitting on 12 and 4 so far as a Sentinel on the attacking side, literally showing that the rest of the team that's supposed to be on the attacking end, such as Rishi for example, and then you got Seg already playing there as that duelist who's saying, what are we doing? This should not be my game. I'm a Cypher. I shouldn't be able to play like this. But quite frankly, that's even a better setup, I'd say, than anything else. You have a post plan of a lifetime, and you know with how successful you've been on the actual plants, that's the key right now, is having that Cypher look good, and even then, better yet, may look better on the second half and just kind of guarantee something. But there's still time, and you can't use this man as a duelist, but it seems like with the way he's pushing in, that's what he thinks he is.
Bubbles is up in the front. You have to respect the level of confidence, and with all that Cypher utility stacked up on A for Precise, it'll be a very free rush into the objective, and it wasn't for Precise. And then Ishar, the 1v1 on A short and the 2v2 when it came to B, and somehow still Ishar scrapes 2 players before falling by themselves. And look at the HP difference between the 2 players remaining for either side. Yes, 50 HP around there for Precise, but you're looking at barely 10 for the Rays of Surge on the side of RG Orange, and they're aware of that. They'll sit all the way back in cubby. They'll play for the first kill. A great headshot to Precise, and leaves now a 1v1 for 2 full HP players. For Solis gets Valorant timing at its finest. Lachoro clutches where needed, secures their 1v1, and gives RG Orange their 6th round.
You can't even say that's Valorant timing. You hear the boombot going a certain direction. What's it take to throw a boombot in a direction? You gotta look at it. So when you hear a boombot going over towards that corner, you're saying, hey, that's a free swing for me. I'll take that every day of the week, and it makes the perfect window of time to just make that swing, find that kill, and get another round to work with. It's RG Orange find themselves a 6 to work with, guaranteeing themselves a even half, no matter what worst case scenario so far. But even then, I don't think they're done just yet. With another full purchase coming through, the money looking pretty darn comfortable. The ultimate stacking up for him here as they've been saving this Viper spin over the course of the game. It seems like again and again and again, they're just pounding down their definitive lead for what this match could be. And I think they're guaranteed at least a 7.
Knight gets first blood, able to take down their doppelganger. Roplix was hiding back, hoping for the Viper's Pit and the remnants of this round. With that removed, it does throw a wrench in the idea of what RG Orange are hoping for. And with Knight getting yet another kill over towards Spices for the refrag to Bubbles, you're really at a loss. How do you defend back towards Showers? Where is Knight going to come from? When will they come for it? And it's all a question that has to be answered fairly quickly. Head spotted over the top of the Radiant Knight crate near truck. Anishar will drop out of heaven. And the 2 players players that just escaped out of elbow will now need to assist in the process. Search towards cubby of short. Down goes Knight. Everyone on the enemy team is now on site or nearby, and you know exactly where they are, but it can't save Graces completely. They do get one from Surge, but Anish Shar getting the kill may make things dicey if it wasn't for a huge cleanup crew of Surge's 3K in this round. They not only break even, Dallas, they go positive at halftime, guaranteed 7 minimum.
Still having at least 3 players there on site, you know that you have more than enough. Going ahead, looking for the pinch play, having 2 players to execute off each other there to actually hold down the spike, and having one watch that flank. You had every single angle just covered, except for obviously the enemy spawn, but you're not worried about that too much. You know it's inevitable they're going to come for that direction. So well played there by RG Orange. You're seeing the comms just going ahead and looking to be crisp to a T inside this matchup so far, with the way they're playing off each other and the way they're just making sure that they are just on their toes. So once again, they're just doing it. They're playing it down. They're playing the game correctly, and even more so, they're actually being rewarded for their efforts. Now, 7 rounds on the board. You can see that once again, the money's still looking pretty good. They're exchanging these ultimates. They're not just burning them all for the success of a singular round. They know that their guns can do the work for them, and the ultimates are there more to create a window of time. And even more so with the 2 controllers being the ones there with their ultimates available, you're saying play this for the post plant, because that's when things get really dirty, because our sights and our takes are looking really easy right off the get-go. And I think Niner Esports, that's where they're starting to struggle. You see that Viper's Pit already looking to slow things down there towards B, but even more so, that Viper's Pit looking to force those players towards B, and being right there in that A main. So forcing things up, getting the guiding line out, show what's there inside Octagon. You're seeing players getting knocked out left and right, and it's nothing but RG Orange on the kill feed as they are wiping through.
This last round is going to be total utter domination for RG Orange at this rate. Yes, this was essentially an eco round for Niner Esports. They didn't have the best economy heading into this one, so Knight's going to realize that. Say, I had a rifle. I did utilize an ultimate. I at least want to get out of this one keeping one of those with the ultimate not being able to be reclaimed, obviously. I'm going to make sure I keep onto this rifle for as long as possible. Stacking up an Octagon, it's a dangerous game, Dallas. You are preying on the downfall of the opposition to funnel into you, and while it was kind of there, it wasn't a blind funnel. In fact, it's the complete opposite. You're blind. They're initiating correctly. Utility dumping is efficient. It's a beautiful showcase of what they know how to do and what they can do with the agents that they're selecting for this map, and we just haven't seen that same level of prowess out of Niner Esports yet. And maybe this is just a pure difference of attack versus defense on Bind, but it's hard to say, and you'll have to say something here, because Knight's been spotted, they've been seen, and now the pressure is on. A 2-for-1, and the one will go through as Roplix gets rid of Knight, and it does make things a little bit more uncomfortable. They'll still have enough to buy stuff, if that matters to the Niner Esports defense all in this round.
Well, for those obviously being in the collegiate scene, I'll put this in more, I'll translate it in a way that everybody understands a little more. So we saw the funnel go there over towards B long, but keep in mind, when you're hitting a funnel, if you take that first sip and you mess up a little bit, you're going to be choking on the rest of it. You're going to say, I want to call this quits immediately. And that's exactly what we saw. That flash being that choke up, being that one thing that just stalls everybody for a second and just creates that pocket of air that's going to go all the way down. So speaking of the air, you want to push it over to the next one. You want to keep that Joker running. That's what RG Orange are doing. 4 ultimates on the board, so they can kind of burn these things a little bit if they want to. But even with the burns, they are still burning through their players as you find equilibrium in a 3v3 with the 2 controllers once again still alive, but having an initiator to go ahead and at least put that plan down to start things up.
Interesting location attempt here for the Viper's Pit. It's not placed in the default spot. It's placed in the doorway leading into U-Haul. When you know that it's there, put the orbital strike on default plant spot, and it really makes it difficult to get out of it, and that's where we get that kill coming out for Niner Esports. Precise and a very easy 1v1, seeing Lacharo just can't click the head fast enough, and Lacharo was able to flick back up and deny them of that frag, equalizing things back to a 2-2. Yes, Lacharo is still damaged, but the Viper's Pit is online, and Anishar will be forced to walk through this. Roplix sees the gun, can do nothing if you're Knights. And now you're praying that the orbital strike from Lacharo won't deny too much, and it will. Anishar will be forced off. The damage won't really be a matter of importance, but when you tap in a molly on top of it, this is the entire game plan coming out here for the playstyle of RG Orange. And Anishar is aware of that. Stuck it to 50. Needs to play for something more. There's no chance. He can't do it in time. It is a 9-3 curse half for RRG Orange, and it seems so improbable that it will come out to be a proper curse, because RRG Orange are the only team we've truly seen in that first half.
I don't know if it's a curse just yet. We still got time to see really how it
True.
unravels and whether it actually comes true. I mean, even then, it really comes down once, as we always like to say, 9-3. It's not really about the curse. It's more about that 10th round where we see teams start to choke up a little bit, and it comes into whether they can actually cross that threshold fairly easily. So sitting on 9, if RG Orange find themselves a pistol round, keep in mind, they're going to hit that pretty easily, I'd say, all things considered. They are the ones that forced in that first round. They're the ones who were expecting these curveballs to be thrown in retaliation from what they did in that first half so far. For Niner Esports to kind of understand, okay, they're going to start playing a little bit dirty. They're going to start aiming low, and we need to make sure to just kind of stay high. So as all things start to unravel and kind of look to take once again across the map and start getting this information and seeing these kind of early stages and look what these defaults look like, it's surprisingly not very much of an actual surprise, knowing that Niner Esports aren't going for a full push anywhere. They're going for a default. They're looking to play this game a lot more traditional, not kind of do the whole unorthodox things that we've seen so many times. And already knowing that you find that split, you're letting these kind of isolated players extend themselves and look to accelerate a little bit. I mean, product number A being Bubbles, finding that first pick, but precisely able to go ahead and show their own Cypher prowess in exchange.
Last player
It's an even
standing.
play up till RG Orange get a breakaway 3. Rishi Surge getting 2 of their own. What a dominant performance already in the pistol round. You kind of have to see it go that way. You commented on the first blood, the good frag back, but look at the way that those splits were coming. A site, then B site, and you had no idea where the push was necessarily coming from, but RG Orange had stacked up that B side so heavily in Octagon. We're playing so far forward. It seemed so unlikely for Niner Esports with limited utility in a pistol round to be able to engage the same way we had seen RG Orange do so effectively through Octagon with that initiating power. And it just comes to a very unfortunate demise for them as that double-digit margin is in fact reached. And Niner Esports are feeling the pressure, and look what they're going for. Stingers galore! We're in a beehive for this next round, Dallas, as Niner Esports will need to make a very good decision about what objective to push with these Stingers.
Yeah, I mean, already looking to see what they can do. I mean, we went to the forest. We thought it was going to come through. We kind of felt like it was inevitable to a certain degree. But, I mean, even then, it doesn't matter what we think and what we see. We know everything because, well, we have just insane spectator vision. Speaking of, well, RG Orange, they don't have that same luxury. They're looking for players. They're hoping to get information. They're trying to go ahead and funnel these guys out to make sure to slow them down because they know that they're more than likely going to have a lot of weapons coming in their direction. But still, Roblix couldn't care less. With that Bulldog in hand, able to go ahead and close out at least 2 kills to kind of make sure the numbers plays to your advantage. That's what it comes down to. Play those 1-for-2s. Make sure once those initial kills are made, play it slow and steady. Let the rest of your team kind of go ahead, be your backup, and play the game you're supposed to. Because quite frankly, keep in mind, it's a team game, and no RG Orange are playing it just like that.
A beautiful retake to the side. Just watching Bubbles there for the first 20 seconds of the attempt to the retake there. Waiting for the team to start to make the decision. They throw the trap wire short, so it's just in the door frame of Hookah, or the window frame of Hookah, I should say. That gives them the space to jump out onto box, to get in the corner, just spot the actual tube. Nowhere near Cubby, which was important because likelihood is 9 times out of 10, there's someone in a post-plant position there. So you don't want to give lines of sight to that. You want to have one towards elbow. You want to have one towards tube, and maybe even towards the back corner. Just something there to give you an edge, and they had it. Beautiful game from Bubbles so far. Cannot keep Surge out of the count. We've not seen anything that goes Surge is the end-all be-all 4K every round, but they are so consistent, Dallas. 2Ks, 3Ks, always there, surviving so long and just being a very solid force to contend with, and Niner Esports have failed to contend with it, and that's why we're seeing the scoreline go this way.
I mean, Bubbles is just feeling it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no other way to put this, quite frankly. I mean, the guy carried an entire half, considering in terms of the actual fragging department. Obviously didn't carry in terms of the actual plant and the objectivity of having that attacking side of the map. But in terms of actually getting those kills and making the job a heck of a lot easier for everyone else. I'd take a 5v2 every single day if I know I can have a player to at least get 3 every single time. So knowing already, looking at 11-3 here on the board, this is just a half here that RG Orange can really capitalize off the back of. I mean, this could be a point where you just kind of guarantee your point if you just obviously end up winning this round. And quite frankly, considering the results that we've had so far, it really just comes down to Surge. Obviously rotating around the map, asking Mother Sky for heals, and you're just going to hope that the rest of the team that is present on site can hold things down. And with a Cypher setup and knowing that we're going to see these guys funnel right into Bubbles, that's a little concerning.
He missed the spot cam play. Down goes one. It's Bubbles who tried to regress afterwards. RG Orange They do have the player advantage, and they do take TP to get back over, but the TP can be taken back in return. The one on short, played in through. You know it's being taken. Do you turn around to fire through the door frame? I think you do, and Surge is aware of it, but he can't stop it. But that gave time to Roplix, just enough to lay Hellfire on sight. Perfect rotate for Roplix, fast enough, and RG Orange are at match point already.
Match point.
You know these guys are frantic. They're scared. They're looking all over the place. Never know where that next player's going to come from, considering that you already have one that was bold enough to run through that TP, and you just find yourself at a perfect opportunity, a nice little window, and what you can finally, I'd say, actually call COD timing, knowing that those guys are just looking away at the right moment. So a huge play there for RG Orange once more, just kind of locked up the entire map. Expected of a round for them, quite frankly, seeing the results that we've seen them surmount thus far, but knowing that it only takes one more with the showstopper. If you get the perfect half of this, you're going ahead and securing this game, quite frankly. But I think RG Orange are playing a little bit more of a long con. Don't get too crazy here. Don't give up too much. This is the point where, once again, it may look like you have the team in the bag, but this is still Niner Esports. And sure, as big of a deficit that they're in right now, you can't treat them like they're out just now.
The last round possibly under the books already, Dallas. You can see how Niner Esports plays so far back. If they give up first blood, it's disastrous. If they give up a refrag after first blood, it's all right, but you need to have that second player there to refrag the refrag, and that just is something we've seen a big lack of on their defense, and we haven't seen enough of the offense to say that they're going to key in on that. Well, they like the idea of Hookah transitioning away from A main, A lobby, I should say, over towards the central side of Spices. They fall back over to A, and they'll go to where their toxic screen, a big mass of their utility is, and they'll wait for these poison clouds to dissipate before engaging as quick as they can, knowing that that Viper will have less in the back pocket in their tank to work with as they now move into sight and are being denied by Roblix's snake bite for an easy plant.
Yeah, looking to just kind of keep the denial there, looking to slow these guys down. I mean, they already have control of sides. They're not going ahead and rotating anywhere. There's 20 seconds left on the clock. You're not freaking out about anything.
Planted.
You're just playing this as steady as you can so far. In a 5v5 retake, you have the showstopper. You know players are going to be funneled there on top of the side, but you don't really know where those kills are going to be coming from yet. So at least making an exchange for 1 and 1 here on the board, knowing the Bubbles is still alive, you're saying, okay, the showstopper's out, but we still have MVPs in. We still have fraggers here on the board until they inevitably start to fall here. So Knight, that player we talked about for the first couple rounds, going ahead, showing what they're made of, getting a couple more off the back of this, and saying that, look, we need at least one more round to work with. We got to keep this game going. We got to make sure the longest as much as possible. And I think with the 4-12, we're going to do just that.
Sika hiding behind the wooden crates. Really an unexpected angle. It's very aggressive, not something a lot of teams would expect for a post plant. But when you have a 3v1 player advantage, it doesn't matter where you're stacking. Just know that you need a teammate there to refrag. Sika, playing confident and in control despite the disparaging scoreline, will now give their first eco, in quotation marks, Dallas round over to RRG Orange, where yes, they do have a couple rifles. I don't know why they're necessarily going for this. I'd expect them to sit back and sell those and not go for something so expensive. You just want to even out the eco across the team, and the best way to do that is have one rifle buy to drop a player down to 2,700 or so credits, and everyone else just gets sheriffs and stingers till they're around that 1,700 margin, and they just pray they can get a couple kills, which I've already eluded them for the first two as they go in Niners way.
Yeah, going ahead and losing 2 players, no big deal here. Just kind of slow things down, take the loss on the chin, don't even stress about it. You didn't find the full purchases there. Just try to make it as expensive as possible, and if you can't, quite frankly, who cares? You can wait until every single player on the field has 9K. You have enough rounds of leeway to where you can just die over and over and over again until both teams have 9K full ultimates, and it's just a 5v5 retake. You just throw every single problem you can at these guys. But I think that's the biggest thing they have to look at. It's the long game. I said it earlier. Don't think about winning the game right now. Don't try to close it as fast as possible. This is a series count. This isn't a singular map, so don't chalk it up to that. Just honestly, don't even buy in this round. I say wait for the next one, maybe another one afterwards. Go ahead and make sure you surmount at least 2 rounds of a buy on your back. Wait for a couple of those ultimates to become available, because Niner Esports, with a couple of these players kind of getting the focal points of these kills, they're going ahead and accumulating ultimates on their own. I mean, look at the ratio here. Even though we saw the first 3 rounds go over to the side of RRG Orange, we see Niner Esports having more ultimates to work with, because they can get the ticks, they can get the floating orbs around the map, and even more so, whoever's pushing more pressure, they're getting more kills and accumulating those faster. So you can just wait things out. instead of getting overzealous and trying to force this dub as fast as possible?
There's two ideas. The idea that you came forward with, I think, is a very valid option. I think probably is the most valid option if you're trying to play this battle of attrition against a team like Niner Esports. And then there's the option of buying up, playing a normal scenario like you would in any game, and starting to burn out the ultimates for Niner Esports. You mentioned it is a big margin right there, and the difference between these. Get them to burn them, get really close rounds where Niner Esports say, oh my goodness, we make a mistake, we lose, so we have to pop these ultimates to stay alive. And then at a certain point in time, there'll be 0 or only 1 remaining, and you'll have been saving them in your back pocket for that perfect time where it's your time to strike. But I think they're going for that idea, that latter choice, trying to burn out things, trying to get these kills, trying to put Niner Esports in an uncomfortable position, force out a lot of this utility, force out some very dangerous plays from them, and just trying to get them to play in a very uncomfortable way. And it has to be more effective because the attack has now poked and prodded on B, gotten a kill, and now on A and gotten a kill, and you're at a 3v5 disadvantage.
Already, I mean, looking at the 3v5 and knocking down just one more, you're seeing over and over again. The Seekers were invested in a round like this, so you're thankful to kind of with the come away of a round, but I mean, at what cost really here? RG Orange, once again, they have no real buys going into this next round. And, it comes down more so to what I've said in previous broadcasts, or even more so when you look at these massive deficits. To where Niner Esports, you allow this to keep happening. What we've said before, what I've mentioned over and over again is talking about the purchases and how the money works, to where you're saying you're on an eco, you're on a full buy, you're on an eco, you're on a full buy. And at the end of the day, that's where I say, always, is saying, that honestly, when you reach a certain point, you start to get in a particular flow for this game to become even. Niner Esports off the back of this round, they only need to win 3 more technically, because 3 of those will be ecos. Thing is, where do you want to invest those ecos, right? Where do you want to invest those full buys more especially? Because it comes down to the flow of the game. It's almost like breathing. You breathe in, and that's where the pressure builds up. That's where you start to feel that tenseness. And honestly, it comes from these full buy rounds. But then once you see an eco, you can breathe out you can go ahead and once again release some of that pressure. Once again, go into these eco rounds, knowing you're not really up against the largest tools that you can really start packing. And I think, quite frankly, when you look at the kind of order of operations here, you can go for those 3 rounds, let them breathe out, and know that eventually they're going to have to go ahead and take in a very, very large amount of air for the next 3 rounds afterwards. And there's only so much you can breathe in, quite frankly. So I think, honestly, you got to create that explosion. You got to create that pressure. You got to make that pocket start to expand over the course of this match. And you got to make sure that it comes at the perfect time. So already, speaking of pressure, we're seeing it being presented. Niner Esports investing not only a Viper's Pit, but a showstopper for a round like this. That's exactly what it comes down to. Keep in mind, this isn't even a full purchase. The last round was just that. This is an eco round, technically. An iffy buy coming out from RG Orange, but they're still making these investments come through.
This is exactly what RG Orange needed. They needed for the side of Niner Esports to burn out ultimates way too early. They needed freebie rounds. They needed that saving grace, the luxury of a couple rounds where you know there's not that giant barraging X button just moments away from being pressed and dismantling all attempts for a retake or zone denial on your defense. That's beautiful. Why they opted to play both in this round, seemingly without knowing 100% what RG Orange are bringing to the table, it's scary. It's a shocking result. And now Niner Esports have laid their bed, and they'll need to stay within it as RG Orange head into this next round. 4 ultimates. It's gonna be 5. Bubbles is a single one away on the defense, and it is very easy for Bubbles to get that last pip, whether it be by death or by kill. We know they can do both.
They just traded their queen for a pawn, quite frankly. Yeah. But I mean, hey, what do we know, right? There could be another one right there ready to get that promotion there in the back of the line. But I mean, who knows where that's going to come from? That's still an unknown variable. We don't know what's waiting for us there. Better yet, Niner Esports doesn't know what's waiting for them there. That's what it comes down to. They feel like they know every single move that's going across the board so far, and they can read into the future and understand that there's nothing that can really counteract them once they hit that 7-round margin. But that's a very weird number I've never seen really be a checkpoint for any team before. But it's more than half of what you need to find that overtime to be an actual possibility. So maybe slow and steady is the name of the game here. They just guarantee one after another. But honestly, if you found a result out of it, I could understand. Finding nothing, that's a different story.
The information's been obtained. Bubbles with a cam inside showers not only tags one, but sees 3 in the process. Able to clear out the Tasmanian Tiger before it disrupts any of the utility that's
30
there.
seconds left.
And this is a great spot for RG Orange now play on the defensive. They just need to keep the player up front of Roplix alive in the Viper's pit, but they were playing too greedy. 2 kills now gained for Niner Esports. Things are falling apart. Hopefully the orbital strike can keep them back, and it will, but they were baiting the initial plant spot and they'll move it to the other. Almost there for Bubbles. The second time we would have seen that last second denial, but it can't come to fruition in Niner Esports. They are on a tear through their attacking side. I mentioned that I thought RG Orange were needing to play the attack a lot smarter. Or sorry, they needed to play against Niner Esports attack. It's turned into the opposites. Niner Esports looks so much better on the attack right now than they did on the defense.
And another round like that, I mean, you got to look at what RG Orange were trying to go ahead and pull off in that situation, and you're just kind of left to leave, and once again, a lot of question marks here in the game, saying that I just don't know how to really chalk this up, man. I mean, looking at how things were played there, you saw the holds, you saw the attempt, but RG Orange just couldn't really hold on, lost way too many players, ultimates being shut down nearly for nothing, and it's not even those ultimates that you see kind of being those attempts or being those fights like we see out of the showstopper. Even in the Viper's pit, just going ahead and being fumbled, forfeited, better yet. And still, we're seeing the same exact kind of desperate attempts come through in a round like this. It's an eco, so you're going for it where you can. I mean, credit where it's due, but knowing that that was your time to parry. That was the perfect time for a counter to come through, and we just didn't witness it. So you got to find another one, and I don't know if Niner's going to give it up.
And with the domination we've seen in the last few rounds, despite Niner Esports burning a lot of their ultimates, they're spreading the usage of the ultimates out, so we're starting to see them trickle back in their favor. Kill there for Solus, and then the ult orb afterwards. Now they have a showstopper again. The kill over towards that A site that was initially there for the Cypher, red rotated. They got a kill. Now they've got themselves an ultimate for a neural theft. They've had the orbital strike. They haven't needed to use it, so they're playing a lot smarter with that one. But Niner Esports have now been given that luxury of just trickling those back in their favor, and the whole idea of RG Orange, like I had mentioned, we compared the 2 strategies that are really available for you with that lead. The whole idea of what they did with picking the ladder of playing normally and burning these ults have now been a total and utter failure because they're falling back into their hands.
It's about that kind of breathing in we mentioned earlier. I mean, you're looking at it, you're expecting, obviously, RG Orange could have followed up. Found 3 punches right to the gut, just completely knocking you down on your knees. But instead, we saw them barely even throwing a jab, quite frankly. So, I mean, at that kind of point, you're saying now we're in a recovery stage. Once again, Niner Esports had the leg up. That opportunity, those 2-3 rounds where we weren't going to see any ultimates, that one is gone, quite frankly. The orbital barrage is there as a backup the entire time, but I mean the showstopper, the neural theft, now once again back up, and RG Orange barely even having a buy made available to them and their singular ultimate in their hands. You're saying we got to have a hero round. That's all it feels like this game is being chalked up to. Is a singular individual has to be the one to really go ahead and put the last nail in the coffin. And while I would love to say it's Bubbles, this guy's put every other nail in. This can't be his game. Sure it can, but why ask that of him? Because he's got another match to play afterwards.
Coffin makers don't do it solo. They have to get help. Those pieces of wood weigh a lot. They got to do more work. If you did the orders required of you throughout the whole day by yourself, you'd be exhausted and not able to show up the next day. You need Bubbles for more than just this, and you got to play smart. RG Orange, though, big opening kills for Surge, stepping out of the woodworks. Lacharo and Rishi back in. It's over for map 1. Bind was dirty, it was gritty, and it was rough. And yes, that may be a sand reference to Star Wars, but it was truly this here for RG Orange. They gave up way too many back in return to Niner Esports, but they do get away with the win at the end of the day.
I mean, the fact that it just taking so long, man, it's just at that point where you're saying 9 rounds now, looking at 12. Even then, that was the buy round coming through for them. They essentially kind of have to win one more after this because once again, it goes right back to the eco. And knowing even then the ultimates are available, that they didn't really invest those, that you're saying this is a chance here. It's just one of those opportunities where, honestly, the game actually felt a lot closer than what it really chalked down to after that first half, because obviously it wasn't effective Niner Esports not only going ahead and showing that what they were made of, because we knew that was going to come regardless. That was a standard set by them for the entire of the season. But knowing that now you're saying, how can we slow that down? How can we present something new here? How can we create a definitive stop and stall with all these rounds of leeway, which we haven't seen available on the side of any other team facing Niner Esports the entire season? And you got to switch something up, or you just play the game as it is usually. And sure, it's a little more risky, but it actually worked out. Once again, took a round, it took a while, but it was there nonetheless. But biggest thing here is I gotta say is now Niners Esports, we have now seen that gods can bleed. We haven't seen them be killed just yet, but they can bleed. Because this, keep in mind, we've seen the entirety of the season be best of one. So Niner Esports are obviously thankful for that so far, saying we've won every single series. Easy as that. Singular map, and we're good. We're undefeated in this entire season so far. But now they're even more thankful that this grand final sure as heck ain't a best of one, because they just witnessed their first map loss here of the entire fall so far.
I was just about to mention it. We've been in BO1s the whole season. So this truly means Niner Esports have lost their first ever map in SEL. And this is a precedent that they do not want to have continue, as we now head over to the opposition's map pick. But before that, we'll take a quick break between map 1 and map 2. Do not go anywhere. Can RG Orange close this out in a 2-0 fashion, or are Niner Esports going to come back with a vengeance? You'll have to wait and see.
Oh, you make me wanna talk back to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. Say sorry. Oh, maybe I'll leave, baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view. You should grow feathers and see the